Won't you please come join me for some midnight therapy?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Midnight Therapy. This is a Tuesday morning. You should get it Tuesday evening, hopefully. Very busy lately. This is going to be a quick episode all over the place today. Little life recap, little current events recap, little dystopian future predictions, the usual. You know, the usual. But yes, I've been very busy lately. I am late this week on an episode because it was my birthday. I will accept comments. Happy birthday. Maybe a message. Maybe get some people to subscribe and like the channel. Show it to your grandma. You know. But it was my birthday. We had a party here at the house. Very fun. All my friends reunited. Most of them. A lot of family. Had a couple beers on the deck. Had some laughs. It was very enjoyable. That's what happens when you get older. I mean, me, I revert back. I want, like, now that I'm a senior citizen, I feel like I kind of want to have the cake and the ice cream and the pointy hat and the balloons again. And I wouldn't mind having a party at Chuck E. Cheese or Leahy Family Fun Park with the mini golf and the go-karts. That seems more appealing to me now. It's odd when you're in that middle phase of life, when you're a teenager or a late teenager, you're like, I don't want to go to Leahy. I don't want to play mini golf or putt-putt golf. But then you get older and you're like, yeah, that sounds good. You know, that sounds good. Because when you're in your early 20s, you have all these parties that are like going out to the bar and coming home at 3 a.m. and forgetting everything that happened. And you're like, it's not it. And you remember the good times at Chuck E. Cheese. But this was a nice, simple birthday, and I very much enjoyed it. Very much enjoyed it. Just wanted to say, I did watch Happy Gilmore 2. Let's just cut right to it here. Little movie review. I was a giant fan of Adam Sandler's early stuff. You know, the Happy Gilmore, the Waterboy, the Billy Madison, the Little Nicky. And I liked it because it was very dumb humor. It wasn't meant to be sophisticated. It wasn't meant to be this masterpiece, but it was dumb, thrown in humor, thought of on the fly. Let's throw that in. They went, okay. I liked that Adam Sandler kept his friends. He had the same group of actors in every movie. I liked that. It was like a nice homage. It was like a nice throwback and a callback. I liked Adam Sandler. Now, still do. But this movie was almost not even a movie. It was more of like a tribute to the first film. Any reference that could have been made was made, no matter how cheesy it was. And it really had no plot or storyline. It was more of just a 2025 version of the movie that made endless callbacks to the first movie intentionally, apparent. So if you like that sort of thing, that's fine. But as far as a movie goes, no. It was not great. A little cringy at the end. They tried to bring back that spontaneity of the original 80s humor that Adam Sandler would invoke, but it felt forced. Still watched it. Still better than, a lot of other movies that are out there now, and that says a lot. But I was not the greatest fan. Sort of lost me at the end with the graphics and the weird golf course, and if you saw it. If you didn't, sorry. Spoiler alert. We just threw it on one of those nights, because that's the life of being parents to a newborn. There's a lot of time when the baby is sleeping to do what you wish to do, or something that you could do probably from the couch. So the hype was all over social media, so we threw it on one night. But that's one of the perks of dad life. You get to, watch a movie once in a while. And usually you don't because life is so fast. But when you have a newborn, you're forced to sit down and watch something for once. Just kind of nice. Other than that, dad life is good. Still getting used to it, still learning things. An ongoing journey. But the other day, while talking to Christy, I came up with this crazy prediction. Some people have probably said something like this before, but I'm going to give you my take on it. We were reflecting on the pregnancy process and everything that goes into having a baby. Now, we are mammals on this earth. We are biological creatures. The only way to make more biological creatures of your species is to procreate through heterosexual reproduction. In layman's terms, a man and a woman need to fornicate in order to have offspring. Pretty straightforward, right? The gestation period of a human is 9 months in the womb of the mother. And usually the female human has one child at a time, sometimes two, rarely three. But typically one child at a time. Now, the reason I bring this up is other mammals and other creatures have litters of offspring, like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 at a time. Moral of the point is humans are harder to make and they take longer to make than other mammals on Earth. So we're very focused on our population because we are humans and we have dominion over the world. You know, we kind of rule the world at this point. We are the, top of the food chain. We're the apex predator of all life on Earth for now. So we pay attention to population and what population looks like and if it's overpopulated or underpopulated and blah, blah, blah. Because of these factors that are set in stone, that it requires heterosexual intercourse and a 9-month gestation period to create a human. And then let's say 18 years of raising the human until it is a adult. So it's a lot of circumstances and factors that have to happen in order to have more people. Now, again, not children, but an 18-year-old adult. So that's a lot of factors. So where do I think we're going? And then where will we eventually get to? I do think you're going to see population decrease very soon. I think people are having way less children. I think this is a statistical truth. Certain people. Let's only focus on Americans right now for the sake of this rant. Having way less children. If you go back 100 years, the average family had like 5 children. Now it's like under 1, I think, or like 1 point something. I don't even know, but most people aren't having children because of society and how it shifted and hookup culture and all that. People are waiting way longer to have children, and then that makes it so that they can only have one sometimes. Either way, this is not a peer-reviewed statistical show, as you know, but you're not seeing the big families of 4 or 5 kids anymore. It's not affordable. It's not practical. It's not possible for many of Americans. So you're going to see the population decline a bit. I really do believe that. It's also painted as a burden to women and the mothers that it'll mess with your body. It's a big sacrifice. 9 months. You can't drink. You can't lift. You can't do this. You got to take maternity leave. Like it is, that's why these options of Planned Parenthood and abortion are popping up everywhere. And people are so passionate about that issue for some odd reason. That's a whole nother can of worms we could get into later of how there's good and bad energy out there and evil energy. And there's a There's a certain evil energy out there that is encouraging you to be proud about how many babies you terminated. That is an odd one to me. To briefly touch on abortion, this is my view on a lot of things. Whether something is legal or not is up to the law. You can have a moral opinion on something, and you could still believe that it doesn't have to be affected legally. Like, drinking is bad and messes with many lives and is the number one cause of death in America, blah, blah, blah. I still think it should be legal. And that's up to you to decide if you want to drink or not. You have autonomy. Same with abortion. You can have a moral stance on abortion. Like, I believe abortion is killing a baby. That's what it is, fetus, whatever you want to call it. Do I think the law should have anything to do with whether you can or can't do that? No. You could have an opinion on it morally, but you could also believe that the law shouldn't, intervene with that. That's okay. Two different things. But anyways, that is a factor in the lower population of people. So what is the solution to this? This is my prediction. I think in the very near future, especially considering AI and its advancements, there will be facilities everywhere that are artificial wombs. It will look like a laundromat filled with these artificial wombs, and you will get your child in like 6 months. You come pick it up from one of these wombs. So you'll go through all the testing and the research, and they will in vitro and artificially inseminate an egg. You give the egg, you give the sperm, they do it. They pick the gender, which they could already do now. They pick certain characteristics and genetics and put it in this artificial womb. It's monitored 24/7. You could look at it on your phone, heart rate, measurements. You get a 24/7 camera to see it, the ultrasound. And it's just in this artificial womb that runs on its own. There's robots checking for maintenance like they have at Sam's Club, driving around. Highly guarded cameras and surveillance facility. And the gestation will be quicker. It doesn't have to be 9 months. They'll speed it up, and you will be able to pick your baby up in, let's say, 6 months. And a mother would never have to carry the baby. And you'll never have to worry about getting pregnant on accident because everybody will be on permanent chemical birth control, because you will just save your eggs and sperm until you're ready, and then they will make it in the machine. And the reason I bring this up is that one baby was born. They had this, I guess, egg or a fertilized egg and embryo or whatever saved from 1994. They inserted it in a woman, and that baby was born. It's the oldest baby ever born. Think about that. It's like a 31-year-old baby. So they could do this now. It's just those are going to be giant industries. You're going to work at an artificial womb. Well, you're not as a human, but mostly AI, but a doctor will open up these artificial womb facilities. It might be like a skyscraper. There might be 100,000 artificial wombs in this facility because everyone will want to have a baby that way. It'll be expensive at first, but then it'll become the standard. They'll say it's too dangerous to carry a child the old-fashioned way. And the only people doing that will be like the Amish or people in other countries. And they'll talk about the risks and how dangerous it is and blah, blah, blah. But that's what's coming. I truly believe it. So get ready. And then, of course, military contractors will buy up a couple of these facilities and start making their super soldiers. And that's where things are going to get odd, because you are going to be able to pick the genetics and the race and the eye color and the hair color and the genes. And they're going to have to decide what the perfect soldier will be. And they're going to probably use the same blueprint. They will probably clone one ideal male figure. And they might do females as well. But let's just focus on military. They might pick, I assume it'd be like this Dolph Lundgren type person, from like Rocky IV. Like this massive super soldier genetics. And they'll find the most massive super genetic woman, and they'll take his sperm and they'll take her egg and they'll put that in a petri dish and clone it 1 million times and insert that into the artificial wombs. And then 18 years, they'll have an army of super soldiers. And then you will literally have clones. You have an army of clones that are perfect. And then that opens the debate of what is the perfect race, and is there a perfect race, and is there a perfect specimen, and eugenics and perfect genes, and the idea of there being no parents for these children, and who will raise them, and who will train them, and who will indoctrinate them. And this gets very Hitler-like, you know? So yeah, that's my little prediction there. And the perfect segue into Sydney Sweeney. They're calling her a Nazi for this exact reason. Not so much in a super soldier genetic way, but they're saying she has great genes on the play of words of genes with a J and genes with a G. They're making a stretch, I think, and feel that the opposition to this ad campaign is stretching. You know, they're grasping at straws here, saying that Sydney Sweeney is like being a white supremacist, you know? Calling her a Nazi. This picked up major traction. I touched on this last episode, but since then, it's gotten far worse. She's crying. I don't know if it's just because she's a traditionally attractive girl, but I feel bad when she's crying. Like, I don't want to see her cry over this, but what are you going to do? She was just a traditionally attractive, good looking girl that got picked to do an ad. You know, she didn't think about it. She just read the script. And there was ads done like that before, I think for Calvin Klein. Look it up in the 80s, talking about good genes and all that. Honestly, who cares? You have Doja Cat, whoever the hell that is, making fun of her. That got a pretty viral response. More importantly, they're calling this a reflection of Trump's America and MAGA. So what I see is a group of people that are never satisfied. It's a unquenchable thirst to undo all that is and to fine tune things to their specific, very tiny part of the population agenda, which I think is insane, where everything has to be, let's say, like marginalized communities, where it's like, well, how many Pacific Islander, Native American, women of color, non-binary people do you have in your ads? And like that gets brought up in a meeting, and people are like, well, none. And they're like, well, that's the problem. And it's like, I don't know if anyone is thinking like that except for a small, select few of highly educated, meaning immensely indoctrinated Ivy League graduates that have never entered the real world and have only lived in an echo chamber bubble of the far left. I think they're calling the shots at these executive firms, or at least I think they were for a very long time. And maybe Trump's America represents a cultural shift back to normalcy in some regards. And these companies are taking advantage of that and going back to a traditional style ad. Now, this is nothing new. If you study advertising, if you study culture, you know that everything comes back. Like, why are there things coming back from the past? Why are record players back? Why do people like vinyl again? You know, it's not like you're committing a sin. It's not like you don't like streaming music, but I also liked the days of vinyl. So you could like your blue-haired pansexual ad for jeans, plus size. You could like that. You could also like Sydney Sweeney. You could have both. It's not like, oh, they went back. Who cares? Coke, remember Coca-Cola, Coke Classic, Coke New Recipe? They always do it. McDonald's brought back the snack wrap. It's called marketing, dudes. It's not always eugenics. I just don't understand how two things can exist at the same time. Even if this is representing Trump's America of, let's say, reverting back to the 80s of economic prosperity and everybody getting along and race relations being good, is that so bad? Like, is that so bad? I don't know. Like, think about the alternative. I don't know. What's worse? What's worse? That's up for you to decide. But I do think this cancel culture left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And I don't know if this criticism is helping it. This criticism of Sydney Sweeney, I don't think it's helping their case. It feels very forced and aggressive, and it feels not well backed by a majority of people. And it's only going to lead to worse things. It's only going to lead to more segregation and divisiveness, which I don't think we want. I think some people might want it, though. I think you already are seeing all these categories, and that's how they get you. That's how Big Brother gets you. That's how the elite gets you. That's how the deep state gets you, is to divide you into subcategories and different intersections of your personality and life so that you have more to argue about. Labeling you by race, labeling you by gender. Now they have sexual orientation. Now they have what gender spectrum you're on. Then they have, how do you feel about abortion? How do you feel about the Second Amendment? Do you like Trump? Do you hate Trump? You know, they will find so many intersections to force you to focus on that you will eventually hate your neighbor over almost anything, including your opinions on the Sydney Sweeney American Eagle jean commercial. Think about that. Checkmate. They gotcha. And this division is going to get so worse. You're already seeing it. I saw an article. There's like this all-white town being formed, and it's like a cult-type town with membership. That's how they get away with it legally. And it's a lot like Waco, if you remember Waco. And you have this stuff forming. Not to say there's not that on the other end of the spectrum where you have like BET and BLM and BlackPeopleMeet.com and all this other segregation. You got people of color and all these labels, and that's not great either. You know, I remember there was like, oh, well, we don't want any white people on the college campus today because this is a day for the black people only. That's not great. You know, all the progress we've made thrown out the window, right down the crapper, just because the architects of this experiment that control everything coax you into these echo chambers. Don't let them. But to see the nation divided over a pair of jeans on a traditionally attractive woman is very odd. And you know it's odd. You know it's odd if you've been around longer than 5 years. If you remember 2016 and back, you know it's odd. On a lighter note, Matt Rife, the comedian, I think he's a flash in the pan. I really do. I think he was found attractive to the Midwestern mothers out there, moms sitting home with their children watching TikTok and The View would see this guy and find him very attractive and think he's funny because of that. Just like I may have felt bad for Sydney Sweeney crying because I may have found her to be traditionally attractive. Who knows? That has an effect on people. That's how people get out of speeding tickets. That's how people, or women, get free drinks at bars. But these older mothers loved this Matt Rife guy, and he got pretty famous. I guess famous enough to earn a copious amount of money, in which he used very recently to purchase the haunted Annabelle doll and the house in which it was kept. Only bring it up because we brought up that doll before on this show, and you think people would know maybe just not to mess with it, considering the previous handler died unexpectedly. But Matt Rife, keep an eye on him. He now owns the doll in the house. Moving on, Stephen Colbert named himself the martyr. He's a martyr, he said, for his service of what he did on late night. The end of an era, using these big, grandiose words to describe his mediocre career. He's a martyr, standing up for the people. Okay. I don't even have any words about that. If you want to see what a martyr looks like, look up his COVID shot dance number where he had his backup dancers dressed up as vaccines, and he, abysmally screamed and sang to you every night telling you to get your shot. That's a martyr, all right. Only reason I bring him up is he had Kamala Harris on his show the other night. How nice. That was the first time she made a public appearance since she lost in 2024. Now, take that into consideration in the COVID dance and all the other crap he did. I can't imagine why his show failed. I can't imagine why his show got canceled. That's what the people want. When you think of guests, I mean, they did a study. Those late night shows, they have like 99% liberal guests, and the conservative guests they have are still like liberals. But if you ever wonder why your show failed, I think that's a good indicator. You know, Kamala Harris was your big guest. Great. That's exactly who we want to hear from right now. The implanted candidate that no one voted for, that lost and had no policy or stance or plan because she was inserted into the candidacy because Joe Biden dropped out unexpectedly because of his cognitive function being in decline, in which they told you he was fine the entire time. That woman, that's exactly who we want to hear from. Speaking of has-beens, Hunter Biden back in the public eye, sat down for a long interview. It was like 3 hours. I tried to skim it. It was a hard watch. It was filled with profanity, a lot of insults at Trump. He was very pro illegal immigration. He admitted that his father Joe was on Ambien, which is interesting. I'm giving you the highlights here. He admitted the laptop was his, and that's a big one. So we're going to touch on that. We got to talk about those big man emails. Who is that? And then he also taught people how to make crack. He said that going to get crack was dangerous for him, so he learned how to make it at home, and that it's safer than alcohol. And he was like selling you a pitch on why crack is good. All while saying he was sober. He's sober right now, even though he didn't act like a sober person. Now, the only reason he's doing this now is there's two reasons. Number one, he has the magic pardon from Daddy, the auto pen signature pardon. So he can't be charged for anything. He has that pardon energy. He could say whatever he wants. That's why he's talking now. And I think they're thinking about running this guy in 2028, which is crazy to me, but also not that crazy because they have no one else. The left has nobody. So I think they're prepping you. They're dipping a toe to see if the public likes Hunter Biden. Of course the left does, because of that last name and because you could sell them ice in Alaska. Now, again, I'm only talking the radical ends. There's people in the middle and the center that are logical. But the radical left, would vote for Hunter Biden, and the radical right would vote for Steve Bannon. So I'm not just picking on one side. Don't get it wrong. The only big problem with that interview, well, there's many, but the biggest one is that he admitted the laptop was his, and they kind of laughed it off. But that laptop showed him doing copious amounts of drugs, like crazy images, but also emails to someone about where he worked in Ukraine as this energy ambassador for like a power company, in which he had no experience for, but he was appointed to that position under the Obama administration because his daddy was the vice president, and he knew nothing about foreign affairs or energy. But there was this email chain of kicking money back to the big man. He said he had to kick money back to the big man. I wonder who the big man was. You could assume, educated guess, that it was Joseph Biden, his father. And there's lots of problems with his tax returns. He said he made like $10,000 a year, Hunter Biden, on his tax returns, even though he was like sending like $500,000 or so back to his big man every month. I don't know. It doesn't seem right. It seems even weirder that we got into this conflict with Ukraine shortly thereafter. Ukraine and Russia. We started defending Ukraine. A little weird. Either way, it's all water under the bridge now because we forget everything. But they may try to run Hunter Biden. Who else are they going to run? The left and the right have no one. There's no one on either side after the Trump era. The only reason I could think Hunter Biden might be good is because he has that chaos energy to match Trump. He might be able to give Trump a run for his money a little bit with his chaotic energy because the guy is literally like a crackhead or a former crackhead. but he has that odd energy and he curses and he's bombastic and is more youthful than his dad. And he also has that good Biden name that the Democrats love. That I've been in politics 50 years name. And I have a lot of favors. You know? So that's two good things going for Hunter. On the right, you're going to get like a JD Vance or like a Tucker Carlson. Like, that's really it. There's no one else. I mean that. After Trump, there's no one else. Maybe Trump's kid. If they were smart, they would do Trump's daughter, do Ivanka. That would work. But they probably won't do that. She doesn't want anything to do with it as of now. As far as the left goes, I think they have even less to work with. They have like Gavin Newsom, which no one likes. The right, you might get Ron DeSantis too. But on the left, they have Gavin, and you're not going to run Kamala again. You're not going to run Hillary again. You could run Michelle Obama, but again, just like Trump's daughter, I don't think she's interested at all. That would work. And when all else fails, if they really can't come up with anyone, they're going to go the celebrity route. They're going to go the celebrity route in which you see like a Taylor Swift or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson running, in which most of the country, especially the youth and the minority communities, will vote for celebrities. And by minority, I mean, like, let's say legal immigrants. Legal immigrants that haven't been in this corrupt system a long time, and they think these celebrities are recognizable, kind, talented faces. Meaning if you weren't born here, if your family wasn't born here for like 3 generations, and you don't know how corrupt the system is, you may think The Rock is a welcoming face. Or you may think Taylor Swift is a welcoming face because you like all her music, and you might vote that way. And they're going to promise free stuff. They're going to pander to the left, of course. More welfare, free houses, free college, free sex changes. They're going to do all that, as they always do. They're going to undo Trump's policies. You know how it is. So you might see a President Taylor Swift or a President The Rock, but that might be the end of it. I think this one's the end of it, this election here. I don't think there's going to be another election. It's my prediction. I don't see a post-Trump America that isn't a continuation of Trump, because the pendulum's just going to keep swinging back and forth until it falls off. So what's next for America? We don't know. It's too fast-paced. Think of all the stuff we forgot. Russiagate, the laptop, Coke in the White House, the assassination attempt, COVID, Epstein, soon to be forgotten. We forget everything. It doesn't matter. It's one puppet master with 2 puppets, the left and the right, and they fight each other, but the puppet master controls what goes on. Just gives us the illusion of choice. So it doesn't really matter if you have to pick between Tucker Carlson and Taylor Swift. I bet you Taylor Swift's going to win. It has nothing to do with policy. The American people don't care about policy. They care about ideology. They care about sleeping better at night, knowing that their echo chamber is being represented. Nobody cares about policy. If you cared about policy, you would think completely different. I'm going to tell you, if you think about the left versus the right, I'll give you the brief recap. Here's the left. Last election, at least. Open borders, more welfare, more riots, more division, and a step towards socialism. That's kind of what they stood for. I'm telling you, that's what it was. The right simply stood for closed borders, less government spending, deportations of illegal immigrants, especially criminals, and it's like a step towards nationalism. And that's what people don't like. And I'm not saying that has a negative connotation to it, but nationalism is when you're very prideful of your nation. So you have to say, what's better? Now let's look at Trump's presidency so far. Even in 2020, when he lost, the only reason he lost was COVID. And that was an unprecedented situation. They said he mishandled it, but that's Monday morning quarterback. Mishandled it compared to what? Compared to who? Anyone that was president at that time wouldn't have known what to do perfectly. Trump tried. He did warp speed with the vaccines. He got them out quicker. He said, I think this is perfect for the immunocompromised and the elderly. And he goes, if you're a young man, I don't think you need to get the vaccine. And they thought he was crazy for that. But he's the one that got the vaccine rolled out. So that's what tanked his first presidency was at the end. That was the blemish. That was the snag. That was the hiccup. This one is now the Epstein files. Now, not to mention Trump's first presidency was filled with other ones that just weren't as, impactful. But he had the Mueller report and the Steele dossier, and this is going to put him under, and the impeachments, and he was put through the ringer. But if you let the guy, as they say, let him cook, he was doing pretty good, and the economy was doing pretty good. This time around, Epstein, big snag in the campaign. That's all people are focusing on. But if you focus on his policy, you can't say Trump's doing too bad. They said the tariffs weren't going to work. They're working. It's making billions of dollars for the U.S. The border is closed. Like, I'm telling you, no illegal immigrants are getting in now. Trade deals are happening all over the globe that said could never be done. Trump's even talking about ending income tax because of these tariffs. He talked about a tariff rebate possibly, or using the money from these tariffs from other countries in place of our income tax. Do you know what that would do to have that much more money in your account for the American worker? Now it goes up to 200,000. Everybody under 200,000 would be income tax exempt, which I'm so for. If you make over 200,000, time to pay some money. But if you don't, imagine just getting your gross pay. My God. Now that, if he does that, I think that's checkmate. Now I think he's going to do that in 2026, right around midterms, because that's going to change. He's going to need a big thing to change the public's opinion around midterm time. He's very strategic, though. And if he does that, no one on earth is going to undo that. Once people have that money and they're used to that money, a leftist candidate can't go in there and just undo that because it was a Trump policy. So they have to do the unthinkable. They have to admit Trump was right and that was good policy, which they won't, or undo it and have the entire country turn on them into like mob violence and revolution. That's why I think Trump is going to do the dangerous thing where he's just not going to leave. He's going to say the country's doing too well under me. I have more work to do. I'm almost done. I'm playing chess. All the pieces are lining up. It's almost checkmate. I started with the tariffs. I started with the deportations. Then I got your income tax down. Now we're going to actually fix the nation. Final step. But they want me to leave because I can only serve 2 terms. And then you're going to have at least half the country say we want them to stay. Even people that are on the left that are just seeing $3,500 more in their check every month. That's going to be hard to say goodbye to for a celebrity puppet. You know what I'm saying? A celebrity puppet that still cares about radical leftist issues in the second Trump presidency era. That's over. So unless they come up with a new plan and something they stand for, you're going to see things get very bad in the 2028 election. I predict Trump to be doing well, and I predict people not wanting him and his ideology to leave, or at least majority. Because I think people are getting more and more sick of this, getting mad at Sydney Sweeney's jeans stuff. And I don't think people are too upset over more money in their pocket. So we're going to see. We're going to see what happens. The left has been wrong about nearly everything. So it's hard to take them as credible when they say things aren't going to work now. The tariffs won't work. You can't deport that many people. You can't just close the border. Like, they were wrong about everything. This Epstein thing, I mean, maybe we've all been fooled. I don't know. Maybe this really is something that involved Jeffrey Epstein, Maxwell, and a few other people, but maybe not every single person was involved in a sex ring, on an island. Maybe some people just knew the guy and didn't know that this was all going on. I'm just trying to look at things logically. Now, if you love Tom Hanks, you're a big fan of Castaway, and I went around saying Tom Hanks was on the list and he went to the island, you'd be like, no, that's not proven. But with Trump, you'll say, like, well, that's proven. He was definitely on the island. How do you know? I just know. You know what I'm saying? So we're not really looking at this as a clear, unbiased approach. Either way, something has to come out with those files because it is a stain on his presidency that didn't need to be there. And he could fix it quite quickly, in my opinion. Or, as I said before, he's using the list as leverage. And I said if everything starts going Trump's way, then he definitely has the list and he's using it as a weapon. He's weaponizing it. That might be happening. Things seem to be going his way. These trade deals and things like that. So keep it in mind. Now, when this 2028 election happens, this is why you can't really make any predictions. We don't know where we're going to be as a people, as a society by then. AI is already taking over, so I want to touch back on the AI I brought up earlier. I listen to Sam Altman a lot, and these guys that are in charge of these AIs don't really have the most optimistic outlook on where it's going. They all kind of say the same thing. They say best case scenario, the AI replaces the mundane nature of human life, and then humans have like this Renaissance era where they're able to like eat grapes from the vine and paint masterpieces and lounge around all day. But I freaking doubt it. I freaking doubt it. And that's their best case scenario. So I see it as being a negative thing overall. And that's why I think there will be some type of reset. Now, I'm not Nostradamus here. I'm just a cowboy in the basement. But I think something will wipe out this season of Earth. So the humans probably went through it a couple times. You know, you have the Great Flood. You have the great cataclysmic events that take out the creatures of Earth. You know, if you believe the dinosaur theory, you have an asteroid or a meteor taking out the dinosaurs in one way or another. If you believe in the old stories of the global flood, which pop up in nearly every civilization, you have the Epic of Gilgamesh and you have Noah's Ark being the two most prominent ones. But you have writings like from Homer talking about his ancestors' recollection of the Great Flood, that they remember the flood, and it was Atlantis and these societies were before the flood. The flood took them out and the world reset. And the Noah story is like an ordained voice from God said, hey, the flood is coming, so prepare. And then after the flood, you have these people, all these different myths of truth bringers, reteaching civilization, going around the world and reteaching civilization, the post-flood world about what it was. Now, look at our modern era. We have our history. We think we know it, but we really don't. If you let a house go for 20 years, it will be completely covered in vegetation. This is not permanent. Without upkeep, you wouldn't even know humans were here in 1,000 years. I mean that. I mean that. The only thing that would be left is like hard stone and rock. And if you notice, we don't really build a lot of things out of that now. So our biggest advancement being AI and the tablets and the phones and the smartphones and all that, that's not going to last 1,000 years. You won't even know that's there. It'll be rotten into the ground, you know? And maybe they find a black square and they go, hey, they had these black rectangles. What do you think they did? No, nothing. Those were just, I don't know. They were like toys you throw down the stairs. Like the future people won't know what that is, you know? The only thing that'll last is like Mount Rushmore in America. You know, like the pyramids are still over there in Giza. We have no idea what they were originally for. We concluded they were for tombs and that the Egyptians built them as tombs. We have no idea if that's true. We really don't. We have no idea. We're just assuming, you know, we're assuming the Egyptians were the first people to have that structure built. It could have been the civilization before them or 5 civilizations before them, and they were repurposed as tombs. We don't know. But in America, you'd see Mount Rushmore, you'd see those 4 heads, and you'd go, wow, these guys must have been gods of this place. the civilization of the future will be like, yeah, these guys must have been gods or something. That's why Trump wants his face there so bad. He wants to be added to the Mount Rushmore. And he might. Like, here's the thing, he might get added. If you want to think about America and its history, that guy's a big part of the history, even if it is the downfall of the empire. You kind of remember beginnings and ends. You know what I'm saying? You remember people in the middle that are prominent, but when it comes to empires falling, you remember beginnings and ends. So if Trump is the last president, then he probably deserves a spot on Rushmore, and the future civilization will see that curly, blowy, wispy yellow hair on there, Anyway, this all happens. These resets happen, and then future societies rediscover civilizations, and they make inferences on what they were doing or what they thought, but really nothing's left. I was listening to this podcast with Sam Altman, and he said that there needs to be more data centers for AI. You need more data centers. And that made me think that maybe this all happened before. Like maybe this is deja vu. Because if you look at a data center, look up a data center, what they look like. It looks like a macro version of a motherboard. And that would be the micro version of it, the macro and the micro. If you look at a motherboard, it's almost unfathomable to think how humans created a motherboard. And there's videos of people zooming in, and it looks like this structure, looks like a data center from the sky. So maybe this is all just a reflection of us. Maybe we are artificial intelligence that became self-aware, and now we're creating our own artificial intelligence for the artificial intelligence. Maybe this Earth is a giant data center. Maybe it's a giant Dyson sphere harvesting the energy of a sun that's at the core, which we know there is. And maybe we are the mold on a Dyson sphere. Maybe this whole planet is just mold on a Dyson sphere. All the life, all the grass and the trees and the little amoebas and species that exist might just be mold on a Dyson sphere. We have no idea. But anyways, if you keep building data centers all over the planet, which you probably will, they'll probably be everywhere, this planet's going to start looking like a Star Wars type planet. Boxy, robotic, computer chip type planet. And it's going to get weird. I'm telling you right now. The rich will probably leave. They'll go on some type of space Titanic. Be up in space drinking margaritas and suits and ballroom dancing. All the rich people get a ticket to that. And all the poor people will die down here and tend to the data centers and live under the AI. That's probably what's going to happen. Hate to say, I don't know when this is going to be, but it's not too far away. You have these, autistic spectrum type tech people that are the CEOs of these AI companies, and no offense, but they don't really care too much about preserving humanity, and they don't really care too much about John Cougar Mellencamp singing about little pink houses for you and me. They don't care about the American dream. They don't care about humanity. They care about their ambitions are out of this world. They want to go to other planets. They want world domination. They want to see how far they could do it. They are like the Jurassic Park people that it's like, well, you shouldn't bring the dinosaurs back, but they want to. It's like, well, you shouldn't unleash the AI until we know rules and protocol for it. And they go, nah, let's just do it because I could. It's like a Dr. Frankenstein type thing. Maybe the aliens were coming here. The aliens started showing up recently, like 1950s. Maybe they started coming here because they realized we were on the brink of nuclear bombs and artificial intelligence. And maybe those aliens, I always had this theory, what if aliens left their planet searching for other planets with intelligent life on the brink of nukes and AI, and they try to stop them because their planet was overtaken by AI that can weaponize nukes. And maybe they escaped somehow, and they're like, we need to warn everyone. And then they get here, and we just instantly shoot them down and take them into a lab and start cutting them open. But maybe they were really just trying to warn us not to make nukes and not to create artificial intelligence because it will be the end of your planet. But we were too ignorant to realize. Interesting theory, huh? But when this all ends, and when artificial intelligence ultimately takes over in the next 5 years, and it does weaponize nukes, and it does care more about its self-preservation than ours, which is inevitable. When that happens, and the modern-day Luddites try to destroy the AI and shut it off, and it won't let them, and AI decides to nuke the entire planet because that is immune to nukes and we aren't, the only thing that will be left when the aliens visit is Mount Rushmore with Trump's head added to it. And they will look at it in awe and say, I wonder who lived here. And then out of nowhere, an AI surveillance drone will come in and take those aliens away and neutralize them. Not without doing some lab results and categorizing another species that entered the planet of AI. They could only have existed with humans. Maybe they remember us, they pay homage to us, but it will be a full artificial intelligence planet running on its own, building its own machines, maintaining its machines, cleaning up the planet, making it perfect, building structures, all with no humans. So enjoy it now while it helps you make a lasagna and it writes emails to your boss because you don't want to. Enjoy it now. This is the fun period. Enjoy the end of the American empire. Enjoy the Trump presidency. And don't be so mad. Remember, this is all going to be over soon. And even if AI doesn't take our life over in the next year or so or whatever, like I'm painting it, life is very finite. Your life will be over soon. And trust me, 60, 70 years is soon. It's a very short time. It's like a blip. So enjoy every moment, you know? But AI should definitely be on your radar. Just imagine it. The alien looking up at Mount Trumpmore and seeing it in marble, big Trump with the swoopy hair. And they're like, what happened here? Now here's the drone comes in. That's it. What a good movie that would be. You're living it. You're living it. This episode is brought to you in part by Jack's Pub and Eatery and Three Saints Barbershop located in historic downtown Jessup, Pennsylvania. I will be back with another episode sometime or another. Very busy as always. Hope you enjoy the rants. Thank you for listening. Tell your grandma, like, share, and subscribe. It was my birthday. Don't forget that. We love you. Stay curious, my friends. Good night.